Okay, thank you very much. Our next speaker is Professor Furusawa, who is a professor of economics from the Hitotsubashi University. And he's currently here, I believe, as part of the program on U.S.-Japan relations at Harvard University. And he's got a very distinguished publication record, and we look forward to your remarks on Japan's economic recovery. Thank you.
Well, thank you very much. So I would like to thank the organizers for the invitation. I'd like to start my presentation with expressing my great condolences to the victims of the disaster. As we all know that we have a huge disaster, and that destroyed 5% to 5% of the GDP of the infrastructure, houses, and factories. And but that, in addition to that, we have a nuclear crisis that is still ongoing problem. So that is something we have to deal with immediately. And as actually Consul General Hikihara mentioned, we actually had already 3 big problems, maybe possibly more, and before the earthquake. And we had a large public deficit, public debt, and the aging society problem, and also the competitiveness problem. And the first one and the competitiveness problem were exacerbated because of the disaster. And we also have actually the widening income gap between the rich people and poor people. That is not just Japan's problem. Actually, that's a problem worldwide. I will talk about this, including these 3. So in addition to these 3 problems, I would like to talk about this too. Okay. So first, I'd like to grasp the problems for those 4 problems, and then I'd like to give you some possible solutions to those problems. First, public debt. So here is the revenue. This is 1980, and this is 2010. And the revenue of the general government of Japan moves like this. It's kind of stagnant here, but expenditure exceeds, around 1992, and the gap becomes wider. And because of this, we have a huge government debt. And so we are on here 2011, and so this graph shows the movement of the net public debt. It's a net value, and it's a percentage of the net public debt relative to the GDP. So in 2011, it's about 125% of the GDP. So it's a huge debt. And if you compare the debt of Japan with other countries, so now we are talking about Greece and Italy, right? And if you look at gross public debt over the GDP, Japan is more than 200%. That's way above those of the Greece and Italy. But if you look at net public debt, it's actually much better. It still exceeds 100%, which is very scary. And Greece actually is greater, 127%. And Italy is smaller than Japan. But Italy's good point is that currently Italy runs the deficit only 5% of the GDP. So, and actually Italy has achieved the primary balance. That means their expenditure is smaller than the revenue, excluding the payment to the previous borrowing. So Italy is currently doing well, but still faces the big problem of the bond. So the yield to the Italian bonds are increasing. So that's a huge problem for Italy too. But if you look at this, Japan should worry about this. And but even so, the yield to Japanese bond is kind of stable. It's kind of mystery. And one reason for that is that most of the government bonds of Japan are held by Japanese residents. So that's good news to Japan in some sense. But I will talk about something that can actually be the bad news later on. And also, Japan had large foreign reserves. That includes the foreign bonds. So that's why our net the public debt is much smaller than the gross public debt. So in the end, Japan can sell their holding of the bonds, the foreign bonds, to pay for the government debt. But of course, that is risky because all countries want to actually have the big amount of the reserves in order to tackle the possible problems of the exchange rate movement. And aging society, this is the demographic the pyramid of 1960, and this is about the current pyramid, and that is the projected the pyramid, which is very weird. That's expected the pyramid for 2055. So we have a problem. And what about the competitiveness? It's a little bit weak, and the green line is the per capita GDP of Japan. This is the current the level. It's growing, and the gap between the American GDP with the Japanese GDP is growing. So Japan is lagging behind the United States. And also, if you look at the orange line, there is the Singaporean per capita GDP schedule that actually has surpassed the US as well. Of course, surpassed Japan. And this one is Taiwan. So that Taiwan's per capita GDP is now higher than the Japanese per capita GDP. Oh. Okay. And this is a graph for the labor productivity. Japan is right here. 71 means that this is Japan's labor productivity is just 70% of the American GDP, American productivity. And so Japanese labor productivity is actually lower than the OECD average. And this is the income gap between the rich people and poor people measured by the Gini coefficient. Japan is actually doing well in terms of equality. And as you expect, the U.S. Gini coefficient, the U.S. income inequality is higher and rising. And what is remarkable is actually that Brazil is much higher, a very unequal country. But that is because here is the income distribution. If you look at Brazil, the rich people earn a lot of money, and the rest are earning, just the okay amount. And here's the United States. It's much actually looks better than this, but still rich people earn a lot of money. And Japan is doing well in terms of equality. But if you look at this, the rich people's income in 1991 is here, and in 2000 is right here. So the increment of the income of the rich people is huge. So that is that is something I've been talking about the income inequality expansion. Okay, so let's talk about the solution. First, about the nuclear crisis. We should end the crisis first to recover from the crisis. So this is very important. So we should put all of the money and wisdom and effort to finish the nuclear crisis of Japan. And then we have an energy shortage problem. In my opinion, we should maintain nuclear power plants to be realistic.